Hello everyone, my name is Shamila Ramshra and I'm the Business and Marketing Operations Lead for Microsoft here in Trinidad and Tobago. And I would like to thank you for making the time to join us this morning to chat a little bit about how you can manage risks in your organization through enhanced security in your IT platform. Just in terms of how we will conduct this morning's proceedings, we would invite you to send any questions at the tab at the top of your screen that says Q&A, and we will address them at the end of the presentation. So good morning again, and I hope you will enjoy this time that you're going to spend with us this morning. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about managing risk. Risk management in most organizations can be quite a broad term and encompasses many different components. Where it comes to IT and PC management, however, there are two things that we can consider that may seem understood but can have significant impacts on our operations. The first is, if someone were to lose a laptop or a laptop is stolen, there is no way that we can prevent that item from getting into what we may call the wrong hands. And what exposure does that create for an organization if sensitive information becomes open to the public? This is a question that we have to ponder as IT professionals. The other aspect of risk management through IT is really thinking about the idea of compliance and regulatory requirements. Most organizations, dependent upon the industry, tend to have stringent or at least some form of compliance regulations in their operation. How can we be sure that PC users aren't compromising those rules in their everyday operation? So these are two things that we can think about as we consider how we can optimize our desktop to ensure that we are managing the risk in our organizations in a manner that is compliant with today's requirements. So at Microsoft, one solution that we have to this issue is managing our PC assets through an optimized desktop platform. What does that mean? Well, let's consider most organizations have been on Windows XP for nearly 10 years. And in that decade, many things have changed, both in business and technology. Windows 7, which is our newest operating platform, is a catalyst really that is causing customers to reconsider their client computing environment through the lens of making people more productive wherever they are, while simultaneously managing costs. Now, the Windows Optimized Desktop, which we call MDOP, offers you computing choices for your organization that will both enhance user productivity while meeting your specific business and IT needs. The optimized desktop really is built on Windows 7. It's managed by System Center, which may be a product that you're familiar with, and it's secured by Forefront endpoint protection. And what it does is that it includes virtualized technologies with integrated management across physical and virtual machines, including a VDI environment. On top of that, when you add Office 2010, Internet Explorer 8, and the Microsoft Desktop Optimization Pack, or MDOP, as I mentioned, what you are enabled to have is really a workforce and an environment that is more productive, manageable, and secure. So let's talk about what's involved in having a desktop strategy. As IT practitioners, this responsibility lies with us, but there are three things that we need to consider in developing a desktop strategy. There are three essential capabilities which must be factored into such a plan. The first is that we must consider whether our desktop strategy enables people to be able to do their best work wherever they need to work, be that at the office, at their homes, while they're traveling, or at any other remote location. If they're on the road as salespeople, it also needs to consider, secondly, whether PCs are protected from malware and sensitive data is protected from loss or theft. And finally, very importantly, We need to manage and secure our PC environment in a manner that's unified and streamlined that helps us to produce lower IT administration costs for our organizations, particularly in an economic climate such as that which exists today. So if you think about your desktop strategy, let's take a little bit deeper into what that really translates to in a real-life scenario in each of your organizations. If we are looking at making people productive anywhere, the reality is that data, and in our case at Microsoft, we like to utilize the data provided by IDC, and they have indicated that remote and mobile workers are expected to increase by 28% in the 5 years from 2007 to 2012. I'm sure that's a trend that we already see in most of our countries here in the Caribbean and also in the wider marketplace. Now, given this trend, it is essential to provide end users with access to applications and data from anywhere, or those highly paid knowledge workers in our organizations will not be as fully productive as they can be. So what does that mean for us? It means that the PC has to provide our end user with a productive experience and be accessible anywhere. But apart from that, the PC is now considered to be flexible, or the modern PC is quite flexible, in that users may and should be able to access their applications, customize their settings and their personal data locally or as they move from one PC to another. So this is an important consideration in defining a desktop strategy. The second component of our desktop strategy should really focus upon managing the risks through enhanced security. What does this mean? In 2009, there was a survey conducted by an organization called the Ponemon Institute, and they estimated that the average cost of a data security breach ranged within $6.6 million US. That was just the average cost. If we look at the total cost of a data breach, it continues to increase every year. And this does not really factor in the effect of loss of customer trust and the subsequent losses customers experience due to their personal information being compromised. Therefore, it's very important that our PCs are protected both from a hardware perspective, but more importantly that sensitive data is safe and is safely encrypted also. So centralized desktop management for a PC and for virtual desktop infrastructure, or as we commonly call it in our industry, VDI, ensures compliance by securing sensitive data and applications. And moving on beyond that, when developing our desktop strategy, of course, streamlining the cost of PC management would be a very critical consideration in today's economic environment. Now, again, if we look at what the data suggests, we have been told again by IDC, based on their information and their surveys, that management is really the most effective way to reduce desktop total cost of ownership. According to the Core IO infrastructure optimization research conducted by the IDC, moving from a basic or an unmanaged environment to a well-managed environment can save an organization almost $1,100 annually per PC. That's a significant amount. And with the additional considerations posed by desktop virtualization technologies, the ability to cut TCO with good virtualization management makes this capability even more important. So what does this translate into? If we are to consider a unified lifecycle management program, what we're really trying to accomplish in the IT environment of the organizations we work in today is a centralized and standardized management of physical PCs, virtual PCs, and thin clients from a single unified tool. And beyond that, of course, we want to consider things such as reducing the time to test new applications, to centrally manage updates, and to make self-service provisioning available to users based on their identity and their role in the organization. So when we combine these three pillars of our desktop strategy, we would find that a flexible desktop strategy really gives you, the IT professional, as well as your organization, the ability to deliver these three capabilities and provide the right resources at the right time to the right users. But the more power you have to be flexible, the greater the capacity for control must be. So imagine driving a car, a very powerful car with very bad brakes and no steering wheel. You wouldn't have a car very long. What with precision steering and a great stopping power, that car would be unbeatable, not so? Similarly, the power and the flexibility needed to support a robust strategy in your organization needs to be matched by robust management tools. And this makes IT in your organization a critical component of delivering business competitive advantage and helping people to become more productive in the organization. And this is an important connect for us. Now, at Microsoft, we do think that we are well positioned to help you achieve these capabilities. And as we go through this presentation this morning, I am going to focus a little bit on the tools that we can offer you through, in this particular instance, managing risks and security. But another important component of a desktop strategy really should be your end user. Each type of worker will have different needs and will present a different security challenge. And this needs to be assessed in each organization. So if we are offering a categorization, which you see on the screen at the moment, of how we can look at the users in the organization. And you will see there that some are mobile workers, so we have our sales teams would fit that category. Others are our mainstream office workers who would be at the office every day. Then you would have the persons in departments such as finance or legal who would have special compliance requirements. And then we'll have a task worker, someone who is very involved in a heavy amount of administrative tasks. And then, of course, the increasing trend, as we've seen with mobile working, would be the deskless worker, who does not have a PC, but uses non-PC devices and comes in and utilizes a PC as needed. So the final component of your desktop strategy should really ensure that you have looked at your user base and considered what is the right solution for each segment of your end users. So let's talk a little bit about security and protection and protecting data, as I mentioned before, which is an important consideration today. We all know that really and truly as the IT professionals in our organizations, keeping the PC infrastructure safe from external threats is our fundamental responsibility. That's one part of it. The other part is protecting sensitive information as part of our policy requirements. And indeed, in some industries, it's not just a policy requirement, it's a regulatory compliance issue. And you particularly find this, of course, for those of us who work in industries such as finance, for instance, or in IT or telecommunications. So the integrated security environment in a Windows-optimized desktop reduces the burden on you as the IT team while helping to minimize the risk to your business. So let me explain what that means a little bit. With the optimized desktop, sensitive data can be safely encrypted and PCs can be better protected. So we have addressed the risk exposure on the hardware and the software. So let's talk a little bit about the tools that are available to do that. So Windows 7 BitLocker and BitLocker to Go, these are features of Windows 7 that if you are using Windows 7, you may be familiar with. Allow us to encrypt data on our PCs, but not only on our PCs, but also on portable USB devices. So we ensure that sensitive data is protected in case a device is lost or stolen. Imagine that. Today we use USB so often, but do we think about what happens if someone picks up a USB from an organization and is able to access the data on that? That can be a huge exposure. Then we also have the issue of integrating Active Directory rights management services with Microsoft Office. This happens automatically, and in so doing safeguards sensitive information while providing alerts to users regarding policy compliance and potential violations. Another feature of Windows 7, which is the Enterprise App Locker, allows organizations to reduce the risk of incompliant or unauthorized software with a simple set of rules, while still providing a great deal of flexibility for end users. So for example, what does this mean in our day-to-day life? And as an IT administrator, you can create a whitelist that permits only supported business applications to run. And you can even define that whitelist for different groups of users. So users can still install or update applications and plugins, but only from sources that the organization trusts and allows. And I'm sure that this is something that we are all familiar with in our organizations, of ensuring that users are not running applications that are in compliance with company policy. And there is also the HR component to that. So with System Center Configuration Manager, patch management is streamlined through auto delivery of antivirus signatures and automated updates. And the last feature that I would like to speak to you about in this segment is Forefront Endpoint Protection, which accurately detects known and unknown threats and builds on System Center configuration to allow us to use existing client management infrastructure to deploy and manage endpoint protection. So what we are demonstrating here is that we have an integrated suite of features which create an enhanced security experience, both for the hardware and the software and the data that exists upon our PCs, and therefore is helping us to really manage risks in the organization. So I want to pause here for a short while and just touch upon Windows 7 itself, the very foundation of the security platform. So for those of you who have been using Windows 7, you may have found that it's quite a different experience from previous versions of our operating system. And the reason for that is that we at Microsoft took a very comprehensive approach when we were developing Windows 7 Enterprise. And we focused on 3 broad areas to really enhance its operation and its performance. The first was engineering process improvements. The second was better partnering with software and PC hardware vendors. And the third was investing in a platform of innovations in Windows 7 Enterprise to really improve the dimensions of quality instead of focusing solely on individual problems. The result of this is that Windows 7 Enterprise is really the most secure Windows operating system that we have developed at Microsoft yet, because what it does is provide multiple layers of defense to really help protect end users both online and offline. And it also provides new and improved ways to help protect data in the event that of PC loss, theft, or any other damage that can occur to the hardware in your organization. And as I mentioned before, and just to remind, it also affords us a way, that is Windows 7 Enterprise, to securely store data on removable USB storage devices. Yes? So Windows 7 Enterprise in its design has really looked at a holistic approach to security and protection of data and IT in an organization. So let's really consider, what does this translate to in terms of securing and protecting sensitive data? You know, as enterprises and organizations today build networks and users become more mobile and more connected, IT infrastructure also becomes more complex, as I'm sure we'll all agree. And with complexity comes increasing risk both to the system itself and to data that resides on the system. And let's look at that from a real-life day-to-day scenario. The realities are, on a day-to-day basis, mobile users will store more sensitive files on their laptops, which again increase our vulnerability to theft or loss. So a mobile salesperson, for instance, may have sensitive revenue data, which if his car is stolen can result in huge or significant exposure to his organization. Another aspect of that is that a user may take homework on a USB device and can often misplace it. Again, it can end in the wrong hands. As IT professionals, therefore, we have to juggle a multitude, really, of security settings for users who have varying degrees of access permissions. The roles in an organization are so varied now that we've got to profile our end user and be certain that they can access different programs dependent upon different levels of security clearance. Managing those security settings can be quite complex. And then, of course, users can, whether it's accidentally or purposefully, send sensitive documents to others who really do not have the right to view them. These are some of the day-to-day realities that we face in our organizations today, which create risk exposure for us. How can we really help to manage that? Let me start a little bit by talking about some of the tools that we mentioned before. So, if your company is using Windows 7 Enterprise, you really do have access to a multitude of tools. So BitLocker and BitLocker to Go, for instance, new and improved group policy settings, and various virtualization options to help protect data. So the IT infrastructure, the internal PC hard disk drives, and the external USB drives are all protected through the features in Windows 7 Enterprise. BitLocker, if you are familiar with it or if it is new to you, encrypts the entire drive and completely and automatically encrypts any additional files that are added to that drive. So this is particularly useful for mobile users with mobile PCs. So the access then to the encrypted drive is only granted to users or administrators who have the proper credentials. So this is something that we need to consider in BitLocker and BitLocker to Go. The security feature that it offers both to the organization as well as to the end user. But BitLocker to Go goes a little bit further in that it extends BitLocker drive encryption to portable devices as well, the USB flash drive. So you can protect your portable drive not only by encryption that's protected by a password, but authorized viewers can view the information on any PC that runs Windows 7 Enterprise, Windows Vista, or Windows XP. So using group policy, administrators can require data protection for writing to any removable storage device, but can enable unprotected storage devices to be used in read-only mode. So again, another wonderful feature that allows us to really create that security of data and be able to manage risk in the organization. All right. So let me pause here to see if there are any questions. Okay. No questions, so we will go ahead. Right, so let's look at how BitLocker and BitLocker to Go actually work. And just give me a moment here to share with you a video. Great. So I hope that that video gave you an idea of some of the features and the benefits of having a BitLocker capability in your organization. So I would like to move on now to speak a little bit about the other aspect of risk exposure in an organization, which has to do with protecting your computers and your data from known and unknown threats. And essentially this boils down to really defending your infrastructure from malware. So you may be familiar with the Forefront suite of products, and Forefront Endpoint Protection 2010 in particular really helps organizations now to defend against the latest malware threats. But it very importantly gives the IT administrator or the IT professionals such as you in your organization better visibility for identifying and remediating vulnerable desktops. The important feature of this product is that it really allows you a single interface for setting and managing desktop policies. So that makes it a lot easier really to identify, troubleshoot, and protect unpatched or misconfigured devices. But another important aspect of Forefront Endpoint Protection really is that it's very accurate and efficient, not only in detecting the latest malware and rootkits, but in doing so with a very low false positive rate. What that means is that valid emails are not inappropriately blocked. So what this does really is to allow us as administrators to easily manage network level protection across an enterprise. Another feature of the Forefront suite, the Forefront Threat Management Gateway 2010, really builds and expands upon the capabilities of IE8, and it helps you to increase the security of corporate web usage with an easy-to-manage solution that integrates multiple inspection technologies. So it's deployed on corporate networks as a unified gateway, and it includes application and network layer firewall, intrusion protection, and malware filtering to keep users safe from web-based attacks, which, as we know, is a very common phenomenon in many of our organizations. But beyond keeping our users safe when they're on the web and, protecting PCs from these types of intrusions, it also prevents users from accessing malicious or unauthorized websites using URL filtering technology. So what it does is that it aggregates data from multiple vendors along with the anti-phishing and anti-malware technologies included in IE8. And this then allows for highly accurate categorization of websites, and it blocks the sites that may violate corporate policies. So moving beyond the Forefront and its capabilities, let's talk about Windows Internet Explorer 8 in the Windows 7 Enterprise environment. What happens here is that in combination, it really boosts the defense of an organization against web-based threats. So a feature such as data execution prevention helps to prevent code from running in memory space that is marked as non-executable. This important security feature helps to protect against viruses and malware that might install on a PC without a user's knowledge. And that's a very important aspect of protection of our PCs in most organizations. And beyond that, through IE8, Microsoft Smart Screen Filter improves the anti-phishing protection originated in IE7, because it does so really by examining an entire URL and comparing it with a continually updated reputation database. So Smart Screen Filter is able to notify users if it discovers that a site is known to distribute malicious software or has attempted to download files that others have reported as unsafe. So again, a very important and automatic security feature of Internet Explorer 8 that helps to protect our end users who may not be aware that these are things that their organization can be exposed to through innocent browsing on the web. And then, finally, with the capabilities of Forefront and the built-in transparent security features in IE8, we end up with a situation where both the user and the IT manager are better protected in terms of protecting their PCs from web-based threats. And also, Internet Explorer 8 in Windows 7 includes more than 100 new group policy settings to simplify browser deployment, configuration, and customization. So the important point here being that another way our PCs are exposed to threats from so many different sources, and this is one of them. But another way that they are exposed to malware or disruption is from end users downloading unauthorized applications, a phenomenon that I'm sure you're familiar with in most organizations. And here again, Windows 7 Enterprise has a feature called App Locker, which helps to control which applications an end user can install. So allow me a moment to just tell you a little bit about App Locker. It really is a feature of Windows 7 that allows an organization to ensure that incompliant or unauthorized software is blocked by implementing a simple set of rules, but it still maintains flexibility for the end user. So let me give you an example of that. An IT administrator can create a whitelist, as I mentioned before, that permits only supported business applications to run, and even define the whitelist for different groups of users, as we discussed. But users can still install or update applications from trusted sources. So we have control with flexibility. So App Locker really and truly is a rule-based structure which specifies which applications users may or may not run, and this is an important part of security and control and compliance management in an organization. So let us move swiftly to a brief demonstration on how App Locker can be set up and help control application installation. So just give me a moment here to put this video up for you. Great. So I hope that that short video gave you an idea of the benefits of having an art locker feature in your organization. So as we come almost to the end of our presentation this morning, give me a moment here. I would like to speak a little bit about the concept of virtualization and how virtualization really and truly can be a value-added benefit in an organization. In our case, we do know as IT professionals that centralizing desktops through VDI, or the virtualized desktop infrastructure, provides a powerful way really to protect sensitive business processes and data, but at the same time helping to ensure business continuity in the event of lost hardware or natural disaster. So the Windows optimized desktop that we've been speaking about today also provides that type of versatile technology toolbox to help meet compliance needs and balancing flexibility and control. We at Microsoft do believe that our VDI solution allows for tight integration of your existing client infrastructure, but at the same time providing centralized control over desktops and avoiding parallel infrastructure. So when we think about virtualization and the benefits that it offers in terms of cost for the organization, in terms of ease of managing an integrated environment of both physical and virtual hardware, we can think about the reality that management and security are very important for data control and compliance, no matter how the business delivers their desktop. So in any case, automation lowers costs and generates confidence in compliance. So System Center, in conjunction with the Windows 7 Enterprise operating system, provides tools that businesses can use to automate tasks related to data control and compliance. So we have value, security, and feature-rich capability through a VDI option in your organization as well. So I would like to conclude my chat with you this morning by talking about really being able to choose the right technology for the end user. So we can have the flexible modern PC with virtualization for the PC and local applications and data, or we can have desktops that run centrally in a data center. And at the end of the day, when choosing the type of desktop virtualization that's best for your organization, it is critical that you select the one that best fits the needs of your businesses and provides workers with the resources that they need based on their usage profile. So mobile users need applications and data available locally, as they are often working offline. Another situation might be engineers or designers who require intensive processing on a local PC. So for these cases, virtualization of the user state and application layer provides the best balance of both flexibility with IT management. A different scenario is one where certain users are always connected. In this case, you may be able to run your desktop environment in the data center and provide computing resources through virtual desktop infrastructure, or VDI, as we've been discussing. So you really gain full control over sensitive data and simultaneously fully centralize the management of the desktop. So with this, I would like to invite you to consider, if you have not used Windows 7 as yet, migration to this operating system based on the flexibility that you can see in terms of security, as well as the number of features we've discussed this morning that help to protect and help you manage risk and risk exposure through your IT infrastructure. As we almost conclude for time, I would like to point out that there are tools within Windows 7 that will help with the migration process. So for instance, we have the Application Compatibility Manager, which is a tool that enables you to configure, to collect, and to analyze data so you can fix any issues prior to deploying a new operating system in your organization. This is an immensely useful tool in helping you to manage the usage of your time and resources in migration from one operating system to another. And this is just one of the features of what we call the ACM tool. We also have another tool, which we call the ACT tool. And what this does really, the application compatibility tool really, is to allow and verify which applications, which devices are compatible with the computers in your organization, and determine the risk that your organization may have before you run the deployment. So as I conclude this morning, I would like to leave the last few moments to allow for any questions which you may have, and I would like to thank you for taking the time to share with us this morning and hear a little bit about how we at Microsoft view security management and risk management in organizations, and the tools that we can offer to assist you in your organization with managing this very important aspect of business operations. So with that, we do have a few moments left. If there are any questions, we invite you to ask at this time. Okay, so I'm taking it that silence requires no questions. And with that, I would like to thank you very much for your time once again. Hope you have a wonderful day wherever you may be, and that this discussion this morning has helped you a little bit more to think about security and risk management in your organization. So thank you once more and have a lovely day. Bye-bye.